Hello, everyone, and welcome to this morning's webinar. My name is Kevin Grimes, and I am with the Arbor Group, which is a PharmaLex company. Today, I will be discussing artificial intelligence, a catalyst in digital transformation and compliance. Now, since we have quite a bit of information to cover, I'm going to ask that you place your questions in the chat window, and we'll do our best to answer them during the Q&A period. And Angelica, who's also on the call, she will actually help us coordinate that. Right. So the following actually illustrates what I will be covering in today's session. First, I'm going to cover who we are as a company so that you can learn more about the Arbor Group and PharmaLex. Then I'm going to discuss technology innovation, what is artificial intelligence or AI, driving economic value, AI for digital transformation and compliance, and the associated implications, use cases, and our capabilities. First and foremost, a little about me. I actually lead the digital transformation and compliance business segments for Arbor and have over 30 years of experience. I actually spent a decade with IBM and a decade with Anthem, both in senior leadership and executive roles. And most recently spent about 5 to 6 years with Accenture in an additional senior leadership role. During my career, I have worked with entities across the healthcare and life sciences value chain in both transformation and compliance initiatives. Most recently, this has included a lot of work associated with AI and machine learning, the cloud operating models, and cloud financial management, as well as things like analytics. And with that said, these emerging technologies like AI and machine learning have become paramount since disruptive technologies are having a real impact on business model transformation, regulatory standards, methods, and practices. Next, I'm going to talk about who Arbor is as a company. We actually have customers in every sector of the life sciences industry and work with all the major ones. This includes pharma, med device, biotech, and diagnostic. In addition, we are working with major cloud service providers such as Google, Microsoft, and Amazon as we see business models continue to evolve and are focused on meeting goals of transformation and regulatory requirements. Next, our locations. Our locations are actually global. Our US headquarters is in Chicago, and our global headquarters is in Mannheim, Germany. And we have offshoring locations in both Dubai and Manila, where development and testing are performed. As mentioned, these are our focus areas. They include our traditional sweet spots, as you see to the left here, of regulatory and validation, and our digital growth areas of compliance and transformation. In addition, we stand behind our work with our clients from an assurance perspective. Drilling down one layer, you see a comprehensive view of our product and service offerings. You see things like AI, which I'm going to cover today, as this is critical in both our digital transformation and compliance business segments. Moreover, you see technologies that are critical to areas like data integrity and privacy, and we continue to see growth in the use of emerging technologies such as software as a medical device. Now we're going to take a deep dive in artificial intelligence, a catalyst in digital transformation and compliance. First, I want to start off by saying that we are in an unprecedented period of technology innovation. if you look at the technology trends going back at least 70 years, you see that item number one in the center, represented by the purple line, and mainframe technology, you see it peaking and then declining with the Y2K events. Secondly, you see client server and PC tech taking off and representing that yellow line, and then items number 3 and 4, bringing on the advent of e-commerce and the cloud, with entities like Amazon and Apple taking the market by storm, even in a global pandemic. And now, from a growth perspective, we are in a confluence of items number 5 through 7, with artificial intelligence now becoming a reality for us. And finally, we see quantum computing receiving investment and in its beginning stages. This is a move away from bits with zeros and ones to qubits that handle things based on superposition. In other words, things are on, off, and somewhere in between. But the bottom line is this technology is an exponential leap ahead of what we're capable of today. Now, with that said, what is AI? There's a lot of information out there and a lot going on. But to simplify, our point of view is to go with an academic definition. And AI is the ability to perform tasks that require normal human intelligence. In other words, visual perception, speech recognition, and decision making. And to that end, and expanding on this, we reference the leading textbook, which is entitled Artificial Intelligence, A Modern Approach, that has a comprehensive approach and is used by over 1,300 universities and in over 110 countries. So with that said, suffice it to say that AI is the biggest technology revolution the world has ever seen. First, it starts out with sense or perception. And this involves language, vision, and sound recognition. Examples of this include LiDAR sensors in vehicles and the virtual world that consists of video feeds, aspects of speech recognition and natural language processing, emotion detection, language translation, machine vision, and facial recognition. Also, neural networks are used during training to improve and refine the models to be more accurate. Next, comprehend or comprehension. And this involves making logical inferences and analyzing information based on a given knowledge base and rules to draw logical conclusions. For an autonomous vehicle, the radar and visual sensors can actually identify signs, and the knowledge allows the AI to actually know what the sign means. In other words, it knows that the speed limit is 35 miles an hour. Thirdly, we have act, or taking action in the physical world. And action can be communicated back in a response and control function, controlling things like physical actuators or controlling virtual actuators. Sticking with the example of the autonomous vehicle acting based on the speed limit to actually slow the vehicle down if the vehicle is exceeding the speed limit. And then finally, we have learn. And the initial learning is based on training the AI to improve, usually based on training data. A set of information that is structured for the AI to adjust underlying machine learning algorithms to where it can validate the results to obtain the most accurate model based on the rules provided. So, for example, for handwriting recognition, the neural network can incorporate the pixels to develop a model that can be accurate up to 95%, meaning that it can accurately identify the letters that are written And this training is done without human involvement. Next, we must understand that AI is actually the new driver of economic value. And there are essentially three channels that enables this to be true. And they are intelligent automation, labor and capital augmentation, and innovation diffusion. So first, let's start out with intelligent automation. Based on software robotics plus machine and deep learning to respond autonomously for a defined task. So examples include customer service processes that involve answering questions and providing recommendations. Also, things like insurance claims processes that involve how to process a claim and adapting the activity based on performance and allowing it to be proactive to actually handle and minimize exceptions and mistakes. But intelligent automation at its core is actually based on robotic process automation capabilities, and then layered with machine vision, self-learning, and adaptive capabilities to enhance the process accuracy, flexibility, and autonomy. Secondly, labor and capital augmentation. Using machine learning capabilities to provide proactive recommendations, advice, and personalization that actually enhances performance and productivity. This may include things like inference engines, predictions, or expert systems. Also, AI can be used to optimize the use of raw materials, assets, and capital for an organization, either through analysis and actions or to recommend optimal solutions to buyers, procurement, and operations leads. And then finally, innovation diffusion. And this involves new products that are based or rely on AI. This can include items like I've already spoken to, such as autonomous cars. Also things that you may use in your everyday life, like Alexa and Loon, which is Alphabet's systems to provide global internet. Again, innovation diffusion. Furthermore, we want to emphasize that AI for digital transformation is being done today. And here are the reasons why. First and foremost, skills, or the democratization of AI skills. Essentially, the open source aspect of AI means that it's easier to take courses to gain access to leading thinking and implement solutions. Bleeding edge talent will still exist in some organizations, but the diffusion of AI capabilities and skills means more organizations can actually adopt and adapt AI. Secondly, compute or high performance computing. With the evolution of cloud computing and leadership from entities like AWS, Microsoft, and Google, computing power is more accessible, both for high performance requirements and for the regular daily aspects of life. AI demands will vary based on the use case, but are more readily accessible. And based on growth and recent success with high performance aspects of things like GPUs or graphical processing units, this has increased the potential for further improvements that will support faster training, which can take weeks, more real-time responsiveness, and the ability to run and handle more complex machine learning solutions that can handle increasingly complex activities. Thirdly, data. And data to train and fuel AI is more accessible. So, the recent investments in things like IoT, digital, and big data solutions have created new sets of information that can make AI more successful. AI relies on information to develop accurate and successful predictions. And then finally, the proliferation of AI products and solutions. So not only are COTS solutions available, but also API services that can be used through the cloud, i.e. through things like Microsoft and Google, and through technologies such as TensorFlow. These API solutions can provide image recognition, speech recognition services into software that don't need to be created in a custom way. Also, as those systems improve their accuracy, every API user will see those benefits. An example of this is Google updating their translations program to an AI-based solution that actually increased the accuracy of the translation services provided. This was just a regular update to the app that the user may or may not have realized. However, it made the app to be more accurate. One perspective that further illustrates this and that we wanted to mention was the Gartner hype cycle and the AI trends that they are seeing. And I'm just going to mention a few of these. So the first one that I'm going to focus in on is something called composite architectures. So, you know, in the face of rapid changes and decentralization, organizations need to shift to be more agile and to have more responsive architectures. A composite architecture is made up of packaged business capabilities built on a flexible data fabric. And this allows the enterprise to respond rapidly to changing business needs. For example, as you see here, a composable enterprise supported by a composite architecture actually offers increased business resilience. This modular design enables organizations to recompose when needed, like during a global pandemic that we're actually experiencing right now, or during periods of economic recession. A second hype cycle trend that I'm going to focus in on is algorithmic trust. So this one involves increased amounts of consumer data exposure, things such as fake news and fake videos, as some would suppose, and biased AI have actually caused organizations to shift away from trusting central authorities, such as government registrars and clearinghouses, to actually trusting algorithms. And algorithmic trust models ensure the privacy and security of data, the provenance of assets, and the identities of people and things. I'm going to mention a couple more hype cycle trends, but I'm just going to cover them at a high level. The third one that I'm going to mention is something called Beyond Silicon. And essentially this involves the fact that Moore's law predicts that the number of transistors in a densely integrated circuit would double every 2 years, but technology is quickly reaching the physical limits of silicon. This has led to the evolution of new advanced materials with enhanced capabilities designed to support smaller and faster technologies. For example, to the right there, you see DNA, computing, and storage. And the use of DNA and biochemistry actually in place of silicon or quantum architectures to actually perform computation or store data. Essentially, the data is encoded into synthetic DNA strands for storage, and enzymes provide the processing capabilities through chemical reactions. Another one, fourth one, is formative AI. And formative AI is a type of AI that's capable of dynamically changing to respond to a situation. And the last one that I'm going to mention this morning is something called a digital me. So from health passports to digital twins, as technology integrates with people, there are more opportunities to create digital versions of ourselves. I'm sure there's some of you all out there that are saying, you know, I would love to have a digital version of me. But essentially, these digital models actually represent humans in both the real and virtual worlds. For example, BMIs, or bidirectional brain-machine interfaces, as you see here to the left, are brain-altering wearables that enable two-way communication between a human brain and a computer or machine interface. BMIs can be either wearables or implants that monitor electrical activity in the brain and individuals' mental states. The difference between regular monitoring BMIs and bidirectional BMIs is that the latter can use electrostimulation to actually modify the mental state of the person. So again, the information that we've discussed relative to the hype cycle further buttresses our superposition that AI is here today. Next, within AI, one of the items that we want to focus on was machine learning. And this is a subset of the concept of AI and consists of both supervised and unsupervised learning and the development of models that allow for deep learning based on the data. Now, with that said, and drilling down on the deep learning training modes, this is something that is done by developing models such as linear or multilinear regression models and neural networks. But the key piece of this is that the algorithm or algorithms are developed, and then an iterative training approach that you see here in the center is actually conducted based on the data collection process. This data can take many forms, coming from everything from databases that involve structured and unstructured data to sensors, videos, and images. But at the end of the day, outcomes are developed with recommendations, and appropriate decisions can be made as you see to the right there. Next, our point of view is that the humans should be at the center of consideration when doing AI initiatives. And this is especially true considering the regulatory and political environment of healthcare and life sciences. And drilling down on that, one of the key aspects of that is compliance. So hence you see the 5 facets of compliance that sit in the center of our Pentagon. And essentially as a result, there are many regulatory implications with AI. So as we start with economic policy and move to the right, economic policy and regulatory compliance, there's disruption that is occurring in how participants in industries like life sciences and healthcare actually modify their regs accordingly. We have found that one focus is on algorithms and how they predict and produce data, both data and outcomes. In addition, there are PHI, or personal health information, or in our case, electronic personal health information implications, and essentially ensuring that the solution or solutions comply with appropriate HIPAA and GDPR requirements. And finally, education and awareness are key, especially when you look at things from a legal perspective. So with that said, next, let's talk use cases. Our research has identified at least 100 plus use cases for these industry segments, and there are probably more. Looking at this technology S-curve, and as was mentioned earlier in our session, to the left you see emerging tech, and then as you climb the S to the top, you actually see mature tech. And so within this, AI that you see here in the center is steadily climbing. And there are many reasons for this that we'll actually share shortly. However, this gives you an idea of the length and breadth of how the life sciences and healthcare industry is going to change over the next few years. For example, again, looking at AI, you see things like the autonomous factory, that involves moving from potentially manual processes to robotics. And also you see within there things like real-time product safety by performing visual inspection and defect identification for finished goods coming off a production line. And also you see things like predictive analytics, which are also key in forecasting for pharma companies. To that end, the following provides you an additional drill down sampling just on the specific AI tech use cases. Things like we would expect for items like detecting or diagnosing infectious diseases, and some of the tech that we actually use today that involve things like virtual nursing assistants. So to that end, our point of view is that to remain competitive, continued action is a necessity. And you may be asking yourself why. And the first answer would be, as you see to the left there, low barriers to entry. So when you look at open source capabilities, the quick adoption of AI capabilities from APIs and products, all of that will only increase the adoption of AI solutions that can drive significant value to an organization. Your competition, our competition, they will be building solutions and changing the nature of competition. Another aspect of this is that the exponential aspects of AI involves the ability to increase performance as cost decreases and learn and improve based on regular use and improvement from data has made the strategy of being a fast follower potentially outdated. Again, and this is due to, as I've already stated, due to combinatorial technologies. Therefore, high-performing organizations are adopting AI solutions and are using them in their products today. And it will be difficult to catch up if investment not only doesn't catch up, but actually exceeds. So, at the end of the day, when we talk AI, and speak to a lot of the information that we've covered thus far in the webinar, at the end of the day, AI is a game changer. Okay. So with that said, at Arbor, we actually use the following framework, whether we're doing AI for digital transformation or compliance. Again, we start with the human at the center and have the capability to work with you on strategy, process transformation, partner on products, and focus on the data. And when we talk data, we like to speak to it as unlocking the value of dark data, which essentially means not only doing analysis on data that is known, but also data that is unknown. And many organizations are able to capitalize on, making more and more intelligent decisions based on even unknown data that they may have within their organization. And to that end, the following further drills down on and illustrates those capabilities. Whatever your focus or use case is, we have the capabilities to work with you. Underlying these capabilities may take us into machine learning, technologies, and of course we specialize in regulatory and compliance areas that actually provides a force multiplier with your solution. Finally, this is our sample approach for delivery. We can work with you on things such as value targeting, pilot development, deployments, and ops support. In the center, you see key activities associated with each of these phases. And at the bottom, you see potential deliverables. And at the very bottom, you actually see cost structures as well. So we have some flexibility depending on your particular solution in terms of how we work with you with all of these. Furthermore, one of our true sweet spots is compliance. And the following illustrates our typical approach to AI compliance, which actually starts with the current state and takes you all the way through implementation and remediation of gaps. We work with you on evaluating your goals that you see to the left here. Scope definition that is typically focused on algorithms, and provide appropriate deliverables that are noted to the right bottom within the 4-square diagram. Okay. This actually concludes our presentation for today, and we are ready for any questions that you may have. Angelica? Questions up there? Okay. Okay, so we wish to thank you for your time today and for your attendance in our webinar. You may be asking yourself, how do I begin? And you can begin by going out to our website at arborgroup.com. At the top, you'll see company information, and you can just go out there and find more detail about us. Also, if you wish to focus in on either digital transformation or compliance, you can just select those tiles, and then within that, select the appropriate product or service. And if you're specifically focused on AI, then you would just select AI and go out there and select AI, and then put in your request. The other way to contact me is to contact me directly at kgrimes@arborgroup.com. And again, we wish to thank you so much for your time today and your webinar attendance. And we wish you an outstanding rest of your day. Thank you.